This is Mr. Research. So we're gonna take this opportunity to do a little cerebral thing, intellectual interview style. Check out my intellectual interviews. I'm going to be doing more and more often. But this is where we take out the emotion and we just go off the research and the cross references. We don't put no emotion into it. It's just research, data, cross reference, data, research. This is a reply. I'm going to skip around a couple of these things. I'm going to try to do more when I leave from work today on this particular video. I know I got the other video that I got to respond to that set all this off. So let's just jump into it, man. This is a very good thing. Applause to this brother right here, who's an actor, but who also made the great point that Germany, they call refugees booty scratchers. I'm saying refugee for a reason. Austria, Sweden, everybody outside of America says the same thing about refugees. Same exact thing. Same exact thing. So when several of our continental cousins use that 8th grade, this happened to me in 8th grade comment, I tell them all the time, if my children went to school in anywhere in Africa, they would get teased in Igbo language. They would get teased in Hausa language. Children tease children. You can't have that as an adult conversation. I have had fist fights with other African Americans as an African American. You can't hold that stuff into your adulthood. That can't be an intellectual discussion. And this brother stops a whole bunch of that. Now I'm gonna go to the front, but I'm gonna back jump on something. I noticed that certain people constantly interrupt so they can spin away from the point that's being made. You know how there's a really logical point that's being made, and sometimes, you know, a person is too long-winded. I get that. But sometimes a logical point is being made, and here comes a person interrupting to talk about jellyfish sandwiches and tuna hamburgers. You know, it isn't that they don't have a point with the jellyfish sandwiches and tuna hamburger, but let this other person finish their long-winded speech, because there's a lot of data in what's being said. So I'm going to spin it all the way to the front, man. We're going to jump around just a little bit because I'm going to do more when I get back, but we just want to tap into this.
Like to talk about it, but then you are with another episode of the Lounge ATL.
So this is one thing about ladies when they're, matriarchs, matriarch men, matriarch women, when they're leading a unity conversation. Sometimes matriarch men do not want the patriarchs to really speak. Sometimes matriarch men want to create arguments on behalf of matriarch women because they want to smother and subjugate the patriarchs who say something totally different. There doesn't have to be any disrespect being said at all. It's just that this community is very weird. It doesn't want the kings to feel any type of royalty. Now, I'm not going to accuse these people of that, but I'm going to say this about this particular lady. At least allows people to speak. This particular lady allows people to speak. Some of the counterpart ladies, not so much. Maybe 50-50. But this lady at least allows those to speak. And that's what you got to understand. There's a difference between the unity people and the non-unity people. There's a difference between the, hey, I like black men people, I like black women people, and then the black people who are very anti-male and anti-lady. Let's dig into it.
And I am joined by my lovely to the conversation. So let me go ahead and start, and then Abe can go ahead and start, and we'll just go ahead. So I'm sure many of you guys are aware of the episode that we shot with the Daily Wrap-Up crew. We did an episode as more so of how I said certain things, and I could have been a little bit more articulate in.
So the critique of how many ladies, not all, men also present themselves. For those of us who say that we're educated, there shouldn't be any faux pas in how we present stuff. For those of us who are very learned, there shouldn't be a high percentage of oops when we present stuff. Are we presenting it from feelings? Are we presenting it from our own echo chamber bubble? Echo chamber bubble? Echo chamber bubble? Or are we talking from a well-rounded, well-exposed experience? Now, when we get to some of the people who are going to speak, and again, I'm going to cover this later because I got to get out of here and go to work. But when we cover some of the other people, their critique is from a more well-rounded, well-exposed. And unfortunately, some people are just bubble echo chamber logic people. Echo chamber logic it's not valid. It's kind of like saying when people say, hey, do you Americans know where you come from? And me, as a very learned person, I say, okay, the answer is yes, because we have documented information that goes back to the 1500s. But now that I've answered that question, can you tell me who your culture is before the Arabs, before the Assyrians came over in the 610 war and reshaped your culture? Can you tell me anything? Ooh, wait a minute. SIYEYlETRE, don't say that. Mr. Research, you need to stop. What? I'm keeping the same energy. She asked me, do I know who? I'm just asking them the same question. I've already answered. But see, now here comes the arguments, because people wasn't ready for that history rebuttal. People wasn't ready for, okay, your tribe was created by an Iraqi guy. That's documented according to your own oral history, as well as several written histories about your particular culture. So an Iraqi guy from Baghdad created your culture. Who was you before then? Do you see how that starts an unnecessary conversation? When all we had to do was stick to the politics of what we were talking about? Let's dig into it.
My responses in my delivery. My delivery, I really did purposely make sure I was very kind. If you didn't notice.
Yes, she was. She was, pretty girl. Yes, she was. She still had her whatevers, but yeah, she was.
I was smiling a lot. I smile a lot. I'm not really a smiler, but I made sure to smile.
That lady's going to be somebody's wife, and she's already presenting herself as a good-hearted person.
I was very not, because I knew how they would. I knew the potential of how they would. Yeah, because we kind of don't want to spend too much time over-explaining ourselves. I mean, at the end of the day.
So over-explaining is a problem in the community as abroad. I'm doing it right now because I'm critiquing and so, but when you're sharing the microphone with what we have of 8 people, you don't want to dominate the microphone more than 3 minutes, because now you're doing run-on paragraphs, not even run-on sentences. You're doing run-on paragraphs, and that leads into rambling. So that is a very good point.
People are going to not like us regardless, no matter how much I say, oh, I'm sorry or whatever. They already have their minds made up about how they feel about us.
This clip to make a point, but watching it fully through, I think it did feel very much like I'm holding you guys accountable because I know you, like an attack.
That is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing when we can politely agree to disagree as melanated folks. I'm holding you two accountable because I know you. In other words, the presentation could have been better. In other words, yeah, you was getting hit. But this is what I tell everybody when they come on a camera. I've been on Fox. I've been on CNN. I've taken a media class before I went up there because I'm not going to let the mayonnaise people spin me into something else. You're going to interrupt me. I'm going to let you interrupt, and I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to answer that question, but let me finish this point because I understand how that works. I'm not perfect at it, but I understand how it works. So holding people accountable, yeah, you could have presented it this way. I've even had people say, you know, Mr. Research, SIYEYlETRE, you could have did XYZ better. I say, yeah, but then I would be making your point and not my point. Well, yeah, but that sounds bad. That sounds bad to you, but I have different information other than what you may have. And when you get on the TV, you'll present it your way and whatever comes with it. I strategically hold conversations, especially in media.
On African Americans. Now, I didn't say where I'm from. Let me just preface to say I'm originally from Philly, born and raised, everything. But I'm very immersed, as you know, Tyra, into the Nigerian culture. My husband is Nigerian.
And I, you know, as a fan of dark-skinned girls, the husband appears to have chosen well. Could be the coffee leopard print because I do like leopard print. But yeah, I like intellectual, soft presentation women. You know, you can be strong, but in a soft presentation. You do it at work all the time as a woman. You do it at work all the time around white women. You do not have to be rah-rah 304. So, you know, it appears this husband chose a strategic panther.
From Nigeria, like just got here 2 years ago. So I have a different perspective, and I've always been very much about the bridging of that gap. But the conversation that I saw felt more like a divisiveness than a coming together. That's my
Please explain why.
overview.
Okay.
But on whose part, as far as
Yeah, you got to explain why. You can't just drop it right there. I mean,
antagonize the questions. Who do you feel was bringing up these questions that wasn't, you know, originally supposed to be asked?
So regardless of whether a host brings up a question that wasn't supposed to be asked, respectfully, when you go in front of a camera, you cannot expect them not to talk about, hey, where do you work? Hey, how old are you? And you quickly spin and say, no personal questions. Let's stick to the topic. A person can start talking to you about Israel. Israel's for another time. Well, let's stick to this topic. You're not you know what the problem with a lot of our ladies, a lot of our melanated ladies have no control over their vocal cords. Their vocal cords got control over them. So just because a person told you to get out here on the track and click your heels does not mean you're supposed to start an argument. You say, huh, and walk away. You know, so just because a person is asking you questions that's outside of what you thought they were going to ask, you got to be talented at that stuff and spin it back. So the coffee panther above her, the girl from Philly, her point still stands. You can't refute that by saying, what aboutism? What aboutism? That's nah.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you the first thing that stuck out, right? Just to be honest, was, and I personally took offense to this, was that the reason that African men come and marry American women is because we are weak and easy to manipulate.
And we can get
and see, nobody forced you to make that type of statement. Nobody, that's just like me saying the only reason Africans say they're successful is because 15 cents is more than what they had back home. What? That's what? Why would? Whoa. So success ain't about they done created the first Nigerian car, the first Freetown motorcycle, the first Liberian Naval Academy. Success is, look at my $4,000 Mercedes. I'm doing it. Huh? That's success? See, that's me introducing an argument that don't need to be introduced. Calling people names. That's a melanated problem, man. We're adults. We're in an intellectual conversation. Why calling people names? I don't get that. I never understood that. Because you can't compete with the discussion? But let's get back.
Things can be gotten away with
more.
African-American.
That doesn't feel that regardless of what you meant by that doesn't, there's no way for me to shake that to feel like, oh, but what she could have meant was it's a personal attack on my character as someone who is married to a Nigerian man.
So let's use the argument. Hey, let's keep it intellectual. Let's be fair. So if I said the only reason African women marry white and Chinese men and have their babies is because those men are less likely to put restrictions on their wallet. The only reason African women have Chinese men babies in Africa, and mind you, the single mama Asian babies is skyrocketing in certain parts of the continent. The only reason African women are having Asian babies is because they don't really like how they look, so they want something pretty and yellow, pretty and white. Do you see how argumentative that is? That's not based in any fact that I can prove. That's nothing but my feelings. So when I say it, yeah, I'm starting an argument because it's not a valid college. It's just an entertainment comment. You're doing it for entertainment when you say stuff like that. You ain't doing it because you really trying to represent how well thought out you are. You saying that to try to get a snap moment. And when the snap moment backfires on you, then you blame the host for asking you the question. That's crazy.
So you don't feel there's no truth to it? I didn't say that, but I'm just wondering, do you feel like there's no truth?
There's no
really?
That's a
So stop right there. So you see how she wanted to stand steadfast in that weak comment? Do you pay attention to that? And then when more than 3 people said it ain't no truth, here come her girlfriend in the yellow because she don't want that information to live. So her girlfriend in the yellow is finna do a Fox News thing. She finna jump in and she finna spin it. All right? But hey, it's her right to do so, but just recognize the game, man. Y'all got to understand how debates work. It is funny to see third-party people come into a conversation and do a Fox News move. So I like this Fox News thing that this lady in the yellow is about to do.
It might be some truth to it because even with American men, they look at African women as that you guys are malleable and easy to manipulate and impress. So it's like it might just be a cultural thing, whatever like the person on the other side.
African auntie did not like that. Did you see the movement on her eyes? African auntie did not like that. But let it go.
Is on like they're thinking the grass is greener. Oh, she's easy. Men, they like what's easy. They like what they can control and what they can have influence over.
I love how women speak for men, you know, to try to push the fairy tale, you know, so that other daughters and nieces can join the sisterhood. Oh, and unfortunately, it is what it is.
I wouldn't say easy. Men like convenient.
Convenience, same thing. Same.
How is convenient the same thing as easy? See, the auntie logic be killing me, man. The auntie, you know, the unmarried auntie logic is it's just, oh man. Okay, let's just say, you know what, for the sake of argument, let's just say easy and convenient are the same thing. I mean, come on, let it rock. Let it rock. Let it rock. Okay. Okay, easy. Easy, you know what? You've changed my mind, sister. You're right. You're right. We like easy. You know, don't nobody want no drama. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I gotta be in love with you when the wrinkles start coming around your mouth. I gotta be in love with you when the wrinkles start coming below your eyes. So if I can get, you know, 20, 30 years of easy, then you're right, sister. I'm gonna go for the 40, 50 years of whatever, you know, when your wrinkles come in. So you know, I'm gonna love you through all that. I get it. I get it. So maybe you're right. We like easy. We don't like a bunch of extra.
Okay.
All right. So as a large picture, I think that a lot of the conversation that was happening, one of my issues is we're all, well, not we all, I wasn't there, but you all were having arguments about assumptions that didn't derive from your own thought, right? So there's this bigger machine at work telling you how to think about another group. And then that was one part of it. Another part of it was we still only live in the box of our own experiences. And if we don't go outside of our own experiences, one part of it that I took issue with was about the active father conversation. And so in my experience, we're having this conversation about, you know, black men not being there. And then that becomes this contentious thing. These are all narratives. They're all narratives almost started and put into our brains by the same entity who we don't know. So when the conversation comes up where black men aren't in the home, or black men just creating baby mothers, or black people on welfare, these are all narratives. This affirmative action conversation, these are all narratives that are happening that aren't true, right? Black men are the most, and Oprah even came out and talked about this because this was based on a study from the federal government that was essential, or I don't know if it was the federal government or Pew Research. Y'all got to go look that up yourself. I do know that it's one or the other, but it is that black men are more involved in other American household demographics. The welfare statistics are one that is actually most benefiting of white women, but we as black people get this narrative because we don't control media, we don't control how it comes in. The way when we grew up, we thought all Africa was basically one place, one country, and everyone in Africa at all points were poor. That was not a narrative that came from African Americans. So we keep perpetuating these ideas, and and everyone here seems articulate, seems intelligent enough to go and seek out more truthful information as opposed to these confirmed biases that were rooted in controlling a narrative about black and brown people. I know you ain't, you know what I'm saying? But black and brown people who, like, it does not do anything but create the more divisive parts of us. And that's what perpetuates itself. And that is why when African people are coming here, or not even African, Asian people come here, South American people, they are told and instructed, don't go mess with black people. Don't go talk to black people. That's a quick trip to jail. They steal, they do this. When they don't look at the idea that black women are the largest growing group of entrepreneurs. Well, that's something to be said about lazy people, right? Black people are considered lazy. However, we built the country, as the gentleman was saying in the previous podcast. They are the largest group of educated individuals in terms of how it's growing, and it's African American women. And then we have we also, and I'm gonna end it quickly, we don't also, the narrative is not given to African people or people on African continent about what happened outside of just slavery. It was, oh, that happened a few hundred years ago. Well, what about redlining that allowed us not to be able to get housing? What happened to those individuals who came back from war fighting for the country who were not able to get benefits? What happened when we burned down your cities, who were self-sufficient? What happened in all of these other points of time? So when we have these conversations about Africans versus African Americans, there's so much not taken into consideration because it's not our narrative that's being given to people.
So shout out to ending it quickly. We got to put a little entertainment in there. Yeah, but you know what? Look, this is why so many people hate intellectual Black men, because that was a lot of research and data. Research and data is boring. I get it. We're a entertainment people. We like jokes. We don't like to, but guess what? Just like the guy just said, man, we all supposed to be having more learned conversations. I mean, we ain't pick up a couple of books, man, before we get in front of these microphones. Even if it's only a podcast. I mean, people be over the age of 35 still acting 15, going off of lackluster information. And you're trying to plead with people like, man, before you get on the microphone and make it worse, can you at least read something? Can you, man, Jesus Christ. And that's really where his conversation comes from. Like he talked about the government. It's actually the CDC. I used to work there in Atlanta at the CDC. When people say information that I know the CDC has already refuted, I'm like, are you gossiping at this moment? Or do you actually know where that data came from? It's like the white man, his name was John Wharton or John Horton. 1996, he wrote some little ebook that nobody was paying attention to, and he put in a graphic that said white men married to Black women are 200% less likely. This is something that just fabricated out of Mayonnaise John mind. Mayonnaise John just made it up. And to this day, people think it's a real thing. It's like when I start saying the man is the prize back in my Black Planet days. To this day, people talking about who's the prize. They don't even know where that conversation came from. It's when I had Alpha Male Wisdom on YouTube. 30,000 subscribers. No, we had more than that. Shit. We almost had 50,000 subscribers. 50,000 subscribers under that channel until the jealous ladies in San Mateo at YouTube killed the page. And somebody said, oh, you got to go get a lawyer to get your page. But a lawyer? For what? Just because they didn't like the content? And this was a guy who worked at YouTube telling me this. Yeah, they just didn't like your content. Did I curse? Did I say something wrong? Nah, they just did. And that's the problem. Trying to shut stuff down. So the brother makes a very good point, man. You get up there, you got to be able to have some well thought out, well rehearsed answers to whatever question comes out. Let's hear some more, and I'm gonna have to be out. But let's hear some more.
Okay, so to add on to what he said, all right. I was born and raised in Europe. Okay, so I lived in Europe, I lived in America, and I also lived like a year in Africa and Ghana, to be more specific. So being born and raised in Europe, Amsterdam, being more specific, Netherlands, I grew up speaking Dutch and everything, and there's no Americas over there, obviously, right? Because it's Europe, it's Amsterdam, it's Netherlands. Most of the Black people that are there are from Suriname, Guyana, Africans, like Nigerians and Ghanaians, right? Guess what? In America, we grew up in school being called African booty scratcher, but in Amsterdam, same thing. We were actually called boku. Boku means the same thing, African booty scratcher, right? So what?
Don't let everybody let that marinate. Everybody let that marinate. For the people who like to say, when I came to America, I was treated like this by the black people. Check this out. When I was traveling as a young kid in the early part of 90, refugees were getting treated bad. They didn't even call them African. They called them refugees, Fugees. They did not even call them African. I'm not a military dude. I was in music, so I got to move more freely than most black people. The Africans couldn't even move like me at the time. By 1996, 1999, I started seeing refugee Africans, refugees. They wasn't calling that to the Arabs doing the same thing. They wasn't calling the Italians that. They was just calling the black folks. This one, Africans were getting really disrespected on a regular basis overseas. Slapped in public. Serious business. Because they didn't have no backup. I've literally seen Africans, early 90s, get slapped in their mouth, punched, kicked. And me and the Americans, we're like, we on some Black Panther shit. We like, man, fuck that. Even though he ain't really us, man, we ain't gonna let that shit happen. See, the Africans at the time, they wasn't like that. The Africans at the time was, Mr. Mayonnaise Man, I'll do anything for a nickel and a dime. I'll even shoot that American that just helped me. What? And then by the 2000, that had us turning looking like, what did you say? I helped you against that mayonnaise dude, and now he offers you a nickel and a dime and you willing to shoot me? Wow. So then by 2005, people started looking at it like, some of those continental people are different, man. You know, by the time we had the housing recession, everybody's on the same playing field. Ain't nobody be able to say they successful making money. Ain't too many people able to say they was making good money before the housing crisis. All that stuff came after Obama. After Obama, that's when you start making money. I challenge most people to say that they was doing over 80K before 2008. Oh, well, I was just a kid. Exactly. You wasn't getting money. When I was a kid, 16 years old, I had $60,000. So what are you talking about? That's real talk. So most people can't say, even in their high school day, I drove up to my high school in a brand new Camaro off the lot. It was only 2 people in all of Oakland that had the same type of Camaros, and both of them were burgundy. Me and another guy. We was known. When I got my Falcon, my 6.6 Falcon, and I spruced it up and gave it a purple paint job with a black flake. Most people knew who my car was. Man, I was good. But I can't turn to my fellow FBA brothers and start bragging, looking down on them. I just happened to have a situation at that time that was good. 26 years old. No, 26, 27 years old. I wasn't doing so good. That's why I tell people, man, your money comes in cycles. That's why there's no such thing as we the most successful. It ain't. You currently getting money. You a new money dude. You don't even have the ability to talk ish until you able to say, I got 10 years of good money. If you just now breaking into 100,000, chill out, man. Chill out. If you making 125, but you only been making it for 8 years, chill out. Wait till you get that 10-year mark. Chill out. But what this brother has to say is very important. So let's hear some more, because it is genius what he's saying. He's saying in these other countries, they was calling people booty scratchers. They were just saying it in a different language. Let's get some more of this information. This guy is outstanding.
What I'm trying to say is that Caribbeans also looked at us the same way. Also looked at us like, you know, on TV where you have the kids with the flies in the nose and stuff like that, and being super poor with a big stomach or whatever. You know what I mean? They show that on TV as well in Europe. So it actually happened all over the world where Africa was looked at a certain way, not just African Americans, Caribbeans. Every black person was divided by who? By Europeans. Europeans. So I'm going deeper, way back to where it all started. It all started with Europeans dividing us, coming to Africa and dividing Africa by languages. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like Africa had, I don't know, back at, you know, before it was all.
Even the Arabs were disrespecting Africans in their own continent. Remember, the Arabs are not originally from Africa. They're from Assyria. They're not original. They're from the other side of the water. On the other side of the Nile. They're not even originally from Africa. So when some people come to America and say how they get disrespected, shit, you got Libyans over there killing Africans right now and selling them for $50 each right now. October 2024. And look at this cute little lady. She just listening, letting the brother have his moment. Like I said, she's going to be an excellent wife for somebody. Shout out to that. Protect that sister. She does her thing well. Let's listen to some more of this brother.
Ruled by the France, by the Spain, Portugal. All of them came to Africa, and what did they do? They divided Africa, right? Yeah. So now it's like it's a language barrier in Africa itself as well, right? So, you know, with the whole what he was saying about African American versus African, no, it's African American versus African, Caribbean versus African. Every black person of all over the world is against Africa. But who? Europeans.
I want to say, I think that's the issue though, is that we're now going backwards in a sense, because yes, I do believe that we had, like, growing up, all of us knew that either you were called an African booty scratcher or you were the one saying it, right? But we started getting to a point with things becoming more on social media. You're seeing the videos, Afrobeat and
So I don't like this Afrobeat conversation she about to have, because it's just like Sean Paul and Red Rat. Red Rat, oh no. Everybody in music has their time. They got their 5-year, 8-year run. Afrobeats ain't gonna be no different. It's not even dominant in Southern Africa. It's just not. When you listen to their radio stations, and I listen to their radio stations quite often, it's not even dominant. I need Afrobeats to do 5-6 years. Mainstream. They just hit mainstream 3 years ago. Okay, they've been going on for a while. It's been a long time. You know what? 12 years it's been happening, but mainstream it only really hit like 3 years ago. They don't have a Beanie Man version. They don't have a Red Rat version. They don't have a Showtime. They haven't gotten to that point. You know, they got maybe four major acts. They need at least 15, if not 20. Where, you know, there's no Lady Saw version. And just like reggae, a lot of it fell off because if you don't keep reinventing, then, you know, the masses start getting disinterested. You got to understand, if Black Americans were not as interested in Afro beats, it would just be an African thing, like it originally was at weddings and so on and so forth, or African gatherings. It's only a thing because, you know, we Americans, when we grab on something, we keep it popping. Just like this guy that's an actor. If we gravitate toward him and we just start big upping him every move he make, this dude is going to blow up. The white people will start paying attention. The Latin people, that's just what happens. We get it popping. But let me let her finish her point, and I got to get out of here.
Afrobeats coming into our spaces and us kind of being hungry for that attachment to the culture of Africa. We want it like that. That's how I got so deep into it. It wasn't because I was like, I wish I was born in Africa. It was like, wow, this is amazing. Something that they told me was nothing is everything.
Yeah.
Man, 25 years old, I met my first African brother at Exxon Corporation, where all the millionaires are. And I was working there. That brother was in his natural African clothing. He just embraced me as a brother. Him and his colleagues, they wasn't wearing American suits. This is at a time where Africans look like Africans. They wore their African attire. They didn't try to cosplay. They wore their joints, right? And I'm not saying cosplay to diss. I'm saying sometimes when an African is in Thailand, he tends to dress Thai. When an African is in Arab countries, he dresses Arab. If an African were on Jupiter right now, he would dress like the Jupiter people. You know, it's different. It's different. It's really different. But that's not here nor there. I'm not going to derail the point. Her point is that, man, we was in love with Africa. Man, I remember we went to all these African festivals. We still have an African festival every now and then close to my house. Love Africa. But sometimes our African cousins, they take that African festival and now they start doing wild stuff. Like the same people that throws the festival, when they just chilling, they'll sit up here, park all on the grass at the park their trucks, just start doing disrespectful stuff. Playing their music 9 p.m. at night where you can hear it 3-4 blocks away. Bro, I understand you happy. We got a noise ordinance at 8 o'clock, bro. Come on, man. Everybody's trying to sleep. It's Sunday, bro. It ain't even like it's Saturday. We got to get up in the morning. Come on, bro. Come on. Oh, my bad, my brother. Man, think about that before you do that, kid. I mean, come on, man. It wasn't like that before you came around. Stop. Don't do that. That's the only problem that we tend to have. Let me let her finish her point.
And so to have this chance to be, I've been to Nigeria 6 times. I love it. I cry every time I leave because there's something special about it.
Yeah.
And so,
like I said, this is somebody's great wife. Whoever got this wife, shout out to you, man. They don't make too many of those, man. Especially chocolate. Ooh, love chocolate. Love chocolate, man. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let me get off my fetish.
So I think when we start moving towards having African Americans feel welcome into that space, as opposed to like, oh, you didn't like me back then, and you called me an African booty scratcher back then.
But it's not
so
your
now
fault.
I don't like you, or so now you're lazy, or so now.
Right. It's like I'm opening with love, and then you hit me with something that happened in 8th grade. And I'm glad the brother made the point. Everybody was doing that. I go to, oh man, come on, man. I'm trying to hit you with love, and you hitting me back with, man, when I came here, I had to fight Leroy. I'm not Leroy. What are you doing, bro?
I'm better than you, or I'm here and you're there. Like, it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Can I say
So
something
the
about
white
that?
culture will brainwash Americans by showing that on TV, by us being so poor. Or 1 cent will help so many kids, or 2 cents. Remember that?
Of
When that was
course.
on
And that's
TV?
how
Did they show that?
definitely-
Did they still show that on TV right now? No. And now also, I feel like social media is what really got us more together.
Yeah.
Movies, music, and everything. Now, speaking of movies, I was in Black Panther, right? I was one of the characters in Black Panther, right? And ever since then, everybody all of a sudden wanted to be African, dressed in the African thing to go see the movie and everything, and everybody wanted to do the African dances and everything. And now then the music came, and now I feel like there's more unity because of what we now see also on TV on our phones, is right here on our phones, going on social media. Oh, actually, no, this is not what Africa's about. Africa's actually beautiful. It's actually, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about what we see.
And it's an
So it's not
exchange.
necessarily that they want to be Africans.
No,
Because some people are still standing about their identity.
Of course, here in
Is they're
America.
embracing
of
Right.
course.
the
Yeah.
culture.
A new narrative.
Of course.
Yeah, and people are afraid what they don't understand, right? So they also don't accept what they don't understand. So when they show certain things about Africa, this is what they see and like, oh, I don't want to be that. Oh, I'm not poor. I'm not African. I'm American. You see what I'm saying? Now when they see like what Africa is really about, like you visited Nigeria, now you really see for your own eyes
Of course.
better than what you see on TV,
And I'll be
right?
honest with you, I was embarrassed. And I'm also not speaking for all Americans, but for me, being an African American, I was embarrassed as it started to be revealed to me what I had been, tricked about. Like, this has been I've been lied to all my life. I was embarrassed to even want to come into that space and be like, man, I thought all of y'all was just living in a mud hut. That's not fun to say. You know what I mean?
Live with
But
lions, right?
I don't want to say that, but the welcoming and the let me educate you was what made me feel closer and want to understand more. And just how you said, to the point where you start seeing, it's not like we're gonna do everything right. Some of the things you guys might laugh at us like, oh my God, that's not even how you wear this on car. I remember mixing certain foods. They're like, you don't mix this with fufu. But there's just an embracing, and the same way when you guys embrace our culture. I know you guys talk about the wearing all the chains and the grills that coming from Black American culture. Yeah. We're feeding off of each other. And
I hate the fact that hood culture has creeped too much into Black pride culture. Black pride culture is a little bit different than hood culture, but we'll talk about that when I get off work, man. Much love to everybody. Oh man, we got some comments, man. Put comments in the comment section. But Jeff says created who culture. They still over there being traitors. The problem is Arabs have retaught the Bantu and the Butu. The Bantu and the Butu, not so much the Butu. The Ethiopians are not as they're not really Arab lovers. But the Bantu and the Butu, they have been retrained by the Arabs so much. And for Butu people from Sudan all the way up to Punt, or the Kushites, they not so much. They haven't been retrained so much. But the Arabs really got into the mind of the Bantu. They still over there being traitors to their own people. Like I said, it's the Arabs. But we're gonna talk about that, man. Much love. Y'all put a comment in the comment section, and I'm gonna get back with y'all. I gotta get over here and help my patients at the hospital. Much love. Peace.